要介绍一个非常重要的题目，那个题目是苦语不识字。那很重要，因为很多人有这个问题，也很多人不知道那是什么意思。
Now let me tell you, you know how you just felt right now? Not knowing what I was saying? That's exactly what I felt around 1 year ago, on August 28th, when I went to China. I was in the airport in China, but I had no idea anything about the Chinese language. I didn't know a single word, but everyone around me, they all spoke fluent Chinese. And what they said to me was gibberish. I didn't understand a single thing. And so, everyone around me, when they looked at me, they saw how uncomfortable I was. Everyone mocked me. They looked at me, and they said, like, who is she, or what is she doing here? She looks so weird in this place. And so, the next day after I arrived in China, I had to go and meet my new host family that I was going to be staying with for 1 year. Okay, and so that family, they knew very little Chinese, and I didn't know how I was going to communicate with them. The good thing was that they spoke a little bit of English. I had my host sister, but she was my only link to everyone around me. She was the only one who spoke English, and she was the only link that I have to all the Chinese people. And so, the next day after I moved in with them, I had to go, and I was very excited. I wanted to explore the country. And so I went and I knocked on her door, and she didn't answer. I knocked several times after that, but she didn't answer. I didn't know what to do. I opened the door, and she wasn't there. I was shocked, and I really did not know what I was going to do with her here, because she's the only person that I can talk to, and she's the only person that I know. And so, I sat in my room for the entire day until around 10 p.m., hungry, and not knowing how to even tell my host mom that I want food, just because I lack that language. And so, before my host sister comes, I was thinking about the decision that I made, and I was thinking about whether I was actually capable of doing that, and whether I was actually able to speak Chinese by the end of that year. And so,
when I was sitting there in my room and thinking about the year that I was in, I thought, this is a huge obstacle, and how am I going to go over it? How am I going to get through it? And what I thought was, I remembered the reason that I came here. I remembered that my only motive and the only reason that I wanted to come to this place is to learn Chinese, because that's what I'm passionate about. And that's my love for languages. And so, I felt that this obstacle was not a drawback, but actually it was a push forward. And it helped me understand that I need to know more of the language, and I need to know how to express myself a lot more. And so, around 2 months after that, I had to move out of that family and move into a new one. But the problem was, they knew even less English. And I had a little bit of Chinese. And this is my second host family. And so, I knew even less Chinese, but my host sister knew even less English. And I went to that family, but they told me about a Chinese custom that as soon as you enter the house, you have to take off your shoes. And so I was walking around the house with my socks on. And so the next day after I went there, after I woke up, my family told me that I was going to school. And so I got my uniform on and everything, and I was going down the stairs. I was halfway down until I found myself slipping, and I fell, and I took the second flight of stairs all on my back. It really, really hurt. But my host mom, she saw that pain in my face, and she really tried to help me. And she asked me one question. She said, "你有问题吗?" And that, to me, meant, "Do you have a question?" I looked at her, and she saw the frustration that I had. Like, why would I have a question as soon as I fell? Like, did you not see me fall? And she said, and I said, "No, I don't have a question." And she says, "No, but of course you do." And so we stayed in this quarrel for a while, and when I went to school, I asked my teacher if there's another meaning for the word "wenti," which I thought meant question. And she said, "Yeah, it means problem." That's when I realized that I really had a problem. My problem was not only that I didn't know the language and that I had a barrier between me and my mother that I was staying with, and I wasn't even able to talk to her and tell her that I was in pain, and that she wasn't even able to help me, even though we were standing in front of each other. And I was illiterate to the Chinese language. Illiteracy to me did not mean that I wasn't able to read and write. It meant that I wasn't able to communicate. It was a major problem, and I didn't know what I was going to be doing about it. But that problem made me able to relate to every single person out there who was illiterate to even the English language or to their own mother tongue. I was illiterate to the Chinese language as they are illiterate to many other languages. We are all illiterate in our own different ways because we might not know about a different culture, about the Chinese culture or the Italian culture, but what we do know is very little compared to what we don't know. So that illiteracy made me aware of so much that I wouldn't be able to know without going to China. Now let me take you back to that very first host family and tell you what I did on my very last day in China. The very last day, on May 29th, which was 9 months later after my first stay in China, I called up my host family and asked them if they could meet up. And so they said yeah. And we went, and on my way there, I had a flashback. I remembered my very first day in China, and I remembered how incapable I felt. How I wasn't even able to tell them that I needed food or good morning. But that day, I was able to talk to them about everything. I talked to them about politics. I talked to them about the situation in Egypt, and I talked to them about the difficulties I faced during that year. I talked to them about every single thing that we could talk about. We even talked about our future plans. That broke the barrier between me and that family, and they weren't just my host mom and host sister, but they were mama and Mei, which meant mother and younger sister. The barrier and that wall of the Chinese language and miscommunication fell. Thank you.